And here we are. So hey guys, we're back with another podcast. I'm running solo tonight. I got Shawn with me, I got Ethan with me, and soon I'm gonna have Fern with me from CorAnima. How you guys doing?
Doing all right. How you doing?
Oh, I'm awesome. Um, so we'll get this out of the way right away, especially because it's kind of weird when I get asked the question, how you doing? Everybody's been very aware of what's been going on in our world recently. The big false copyright claim against us.
Yep.
I'm
Fully
I'm
aware of
not
it.
I'm not I'm not going to sit here and spit a whole bunch of anger or anything like that. I mean, I'm bitter. I'm very very bitter.
Yep.
Um, but what I would want to talk about with this experience is the importance of bands protecting their shit.
Yeah.
Straight up. We were under the impression that we were protected.
hmm
It turns out that may not be the case. Still very confident, as I mentioned to Ethan earlier, that this is all going to work out in the end, not just because of positive attitude or anything, but because straight up, this person has absolutely no legs to stand on. This is our stuff. We
hmm
have proof. We're literally just waiting for the opportunity to show said proof so this can all be behind us. That leads me into the other part, which what makes this very frustrating is bands getting the opportunity to prove themselves in a case like this. It is far too easy for someone to just come along and say, hey, that's my music, and they can't have it. And then the streaming service and the distributor kind of collectively go, okay, and they take the music down. I pointed out in my tweets and my emails and even through some conversations, we received no notification that this happened. It just happened, and we had to discover it when people started blowing up Twitter. Why can't I listen to Unveiled? Why isn't Halo playing? Like all this kind of stuff.
hmm
So it's been a very, very frustrating 24 hours. We're waiting for our day in court, so to speak, even though it's not going to be a day in court. But yeah, everything's gonna come back from this. Um, that's not why we're here. We're here tonight because you guys have been on my radar for a very long ass time. I can't say I've been there since day one. I don't remember how I came across you. I want to say it was Seamus and Maria from Rock on the Rise.
Could be.
But I just started corresponding, I think, with you guys, or I guess with Ethan, just before that, because, well, yeah, you guys did a podcast or something with them, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. We'd done. Yep.
And you mentioned our name or something like that. I guess I don't know. We had just been talking or something like that. I don't even remember now. But
Yeah. That might have been the first time that I think we started popping up on like each other's radios on like
yeah,
Spotify, and so we started shooting back and forth about that.
I think that's what it was. And
Yeah.
because I got a message that's, I think from Maria that said, CorAnima just mentioned you on air. And for
Yes.
like half a second, I was like, who? And I was like, oh, right. I'm like, okay, yeah. Because I had listened to Credo,
hmm
like probably earlier that day. I think it was that morning. So like it took me half a second, and then I was just kind of like, oh, right, okay. And I don't know. From there, it was just kind of like, all right, I got to dig into these guys. And I noticed you didn't have a lot like
Right.
up there. So I'm like, okay, well, this is going to be easy to digest. Like you've only got like, what did you have up there at the time? Two
Three
songs?
two, at that time, two songs, and then we were getting ready to put out our third.
Yeah, it was right before Vivamus,
Yeah.
whatever, tomato, tomato. Um, and yeah, I was hooked instantly. And then you guys had announced that you were releasing Vivamus,
hmm
and the dude. Okay, so I said this to you earlier. If I had that single on a cassette, like we would have done back in the day, I would have destroyed it by now. I wore it the fuck out. Like absolutely unreal, absolutely unreal track. Um, Somnium, exactly the same in terms of how I feel about that. Um, Obviously, we're all part of the same indie community here.
Yeah.
The music you guys are putting out doesn't speak indie at all. Uh, the music you guys are putting out there sounds fucking more mainstream than some of the mainstream stuff that's out there. And when I say that, because some people have a negative connotation when it comes to mainstream. They're like, my shit's not mainstream, fuck you. Like, no, I mean, like, it's ready for mass consumption. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you guys, honestly, I swear I'm gonna stop like fucking like rubbing you guys off like in 2 seconds. But, like,
no.
Seriously, like, I'm fanboying out here because it's super cool, because, like, you know, I've been talking with Ethan for a long time now, or it seems like a long time. It really hasn't been, I guess, but, like, you know, we've been on each other's radar for a long time now, and now we're finally getting a chance to speak face to face. And I am just such a big fan of your music. I asked for this. I wanted you guys on this podcast straight up, just so I could tell you how awesome you are. Like, that's about it.
Man,
we definitely appreciate it. Yeah.
So you guys have a good night. I'll talk to you later.
Okay.
Thanks for having us. Peace, man.
All right.
No. So, okay. So let's get into it a little bit here. Okay. So CorAnima, you mentioned to me earlier, Ethan, that Fern named the songs. Did he name the band as well?
Yes, he did.
Okay. So, and this might be a question for Fern, if I don't know if he was here, but I guess you can give me your best answer that you've got. What's the Latin connection here?
So yeah, he was just he definitely liked looking back into old Latin languages, and so what he was doing, he was just trying. He had started with the think about like Paramore. They had taken 2 words and they put them together, and it turned out to be a really good name and a really powerful name. He did the same kind of idea with CorAnima. So CorAnima, when you break it into 2 words, it's old Latin for heart and soul. He just took those 2 words, put it together, capitalized the A in the middle, and that's how we came up with our name, was CorAnima. And it means literal translation into heart and soul. I'm pretty sure that's what he would say. Pretty sure that's pretty close to what it is.
I was today years old when I learned that. That's cool. That is really cool. I enjoy telling the story that our name 12 years today came from the fact that it was literally 12 years in between the last time Jay and I had worked with each other. And, I thought it was just like, yeah, that's a really awesome story. And you just fucking blew that out of the water with that. So that's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Latin, to me, like, Latin words, Latin phrases, all that is so fucking metal, so badass. You don't even have to know what it means. Like, you just read it, you'd be like, that's a badass like name for a band, or that's a badass song title. What's it mean? And you're like, oh, it means gentle butterfly. And they're like, yeah, whatever, I don't care. It's awesome. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So
it kind of goes hand in hand with our song titles as well. And each song title kind of leads into the next one. So Credo being a belief system, Ember being rain, and all kind of different stages of where you would be, like in in a troubled situation, your belief structure, in the rain, in a sad moment in your life, into Vivimus, which is, which that one has a dual meaning, but Fern needs to explain that one a little bit more. It's about being allowed to live, or trying to think exactly how he worded it. The act of living, I can't remember exactly what he said it was, but when he comes on later, he'll be able to explain that better.
Yeah, I think I pick up what you're laying down.
Yeah, somnium is like a dream state. So once you're going into death, you enter like a dream state, and then mortem, our next one, is obviously about death.
Mortem?
Mortem. Yeah,
okay.
That's the title for our next one.
That one actually, like, that word sounds a little bit more familiar to me. Like, I would have already kind of made that connection, like, oh, this is bad. That's a bad word.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's awesome that much thought is put into the titles of your stuff. Like, there's thematics going on here. You're telling a story. Would you consider what you're doing to be like conceptual? Like, is it a, you know what I mean? Like, obviously you don't have like a big album per se right now,
right?
But like, would all of these things fit into like maybe a concept album? Like, is this all related somehow?
I'm not sure. Maybe.
You didn't think I was going to come at you with that one, did I? Did you?
No.
Like, there's definitely like an overall theme what we're doing, but it's kind of too soon to tell if it's going to be like a cohesive album.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. So your sound, I'm sure you guys have answered this a million times, just like we've answered this question multiple times ourselves. Obviously you guys are really big into like the alt rock, you know, you dabble in metalcore, and not alt rock, like alt metal, and metalcore and whatnot. I'll start with you, Ethan. What big influences are you bringing into this project?
No, going all the way back to Alice in Chains,
Right.
Soundgarden back in my youthful days. I got into Seven Dust probably back in 1996. We started getting a little heavier stuff. Machine Head back late 90s, and Linkin Park, of course, Korn. Obviously, you can probably tell that from the low tuning.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
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 It seems like every year I go to a lower tuning.
Hey man, low tuning is dirty, man. I love it.
I'm not happy unless my strings are dragging on the floor.
Right.
So
there you go.
Yeah. And I did get into a lot of metalcore there for a while, and I was in a few metalcore bands. You know, Bring Me the Horizon. The Word Alive, a few other bands. I'm drawing a blank. I always do this. I draw blanks when I'm trying to remember bands I was listening to. Just
putting you on the spot here.
Exactly. But yeah, that now it's anything. I love music, period. Everything that I've gotten to get involved with ever since we got involved with the Twitter community, all the new music coming from there, all different levels of rock, all different levels of hard rock or metal. It's like, just hearing all of it, and I love all of it. So
yeah, and I feel the same way. You sound like you followed a very similar path that I did. I started mostly, I started before the grunge era in a sense, but I feel like I was just dabbling back then, trying to find a sound that I really dug. But as soon as that grunge movement came along, that was obviously the catalyst for alt metal. And I think for the most part, that's where I've always stayed. That's where I've always come back to. Metalcore has always been a big love of mine. Even softer stuff, like I'm up and down that way. There he is. Are you there? You good?
Yeah, you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I don't always look like some mafioso. I just came from work.
It's all good, man. I really appreciated it. You should be wearing my hat, honestly, but I feel like if we all collectively put our wardrobes together, we'd make one nice looking dude. So just to catch you up to speed, man, what we've talked about so far is the names of your songs and your bands that I've been told you were the champion of.
Yes.
Ethan did his best to explain what they all mean. And he did a really good job. I got the gist of it. I think moving forward, Shawn had said we're going to need you to explain what the feel going forward is going to be. So we got Mortem coming up. Mortem, is that what it is?
Yes.
Mortem. Yeah,
No,
we've already done the whole like Vivamus or Vivamus thing. So
good, because I didn't want to have to talk about that damn song anymore.
Oh, good. Then you missed the whole part about me fanboying out about it. That's good. That's good. You can just skip that whole part right there. That's fine. So thematically, what I had asked was, even though you guys obviously don't have like a full length or anything like that right now, but given this whole Latin thing and all the meanings behind everything, do you see all of this becoming some kind of like a concept album, or like, are these all related and connected somehow?
Yeah, I see it culminating in like one kind of a long constant buildup of all the songs. Really are they have a lot of emotional themes, like for example, Solom, just our first two releases that we had, the theme around it is alone. Like, so if Solom means alone, so it's like, if you look at our artwork, it's someone just kind of alone by themselves. And then there's Viva Miss, and then there's Somnium, which is dream. Samya Means Dream, Mortem, Death. So all of the songs have some sort of theme that are culminating, and maybe I'm hoping eventually we have one big concept where we go essentially it's going to be like birth, beginning to the end, which is death, kind of one big a culmination of many emotions and things.
That's super cool. So do you see all of these songs that you've already released, do you see them being put on on a bigger collection at some point?
Yeah, definitely. We one concept we've played around with is eventually, because we're working with a new producer, and we're thinking of revisiting the old songs, doing like a remastered version where we put a little bit more different spin flavor to it, and then on top of that, releasing maybe a couple more songs in one big album concept. That would be really cool.
That's really cool. You take the stuff that you've already previously released and you're going to tweak them a little bit. I think that's really interesting and offers your already established fan base just a little bit something new while at the same time being familiar. So that's a smart move, man. That's a very smart move.
Because the new stuff, as Ethan will tell you, we'll write stuff, and then all of a sudden, some changes will be made, or we're working with a producer that he's helping guide us in a certain direction, and we'll hear the same song, and then we'll go, that sounds completely different. What can we do with the other songs? Like,
I've been there.
The songs literally are like, they're almost like night and day, and we're constantly growing and evolving, and our sound is just going. It's really evolving already as we are. We haven't been together long.
Right.
The fact that it's evolving the way it is so fast is kind of crazy.
I completely relate. Jason and I have been together since 2018, which in the long run is not very long at all. Speaking to what you were just saying, when we were tracking vocals the other night for one of our new tracks, we were listening to an original concept of what one of our first songs became. So the track 1 on our first EP, I Have Mine. I got to hear from Jay what the original version of that sounded like. And Ethan appreciate this, like strings dragging on the floor for this one. It was dark, it was heavy, and I was salivating, and I'm just staring at Jason going like, why didn't we do that? Like, so same thing, like constantly evolving, constantly looking towards like, what's this ultimately going to sound like in the future? And even then, like, I don't think staying like streamlining is the answer anymore anyway. Like you find your niche, you find where you want to be, but then you constantly adjust it. You make different choices, you put yourself out there. Ethan, you mentioned like bands like Bring Me the Horizon earlier. They're a prime example of just not sounding the same like ever. They just keep evolving, but they're always a heavy band. So, I mean, they're never really going to lose their core audience that way. So the other thing, we were just catching up on people's influences. Ethan mentioned that he started with the grunge era, moved his way up into new metal, graduated into some metalcore, and now it's pretty much anything goes, especially with this whole indie community that we're all a part of. Shawn, you're up, bro. What's your influence? Please start with Slash.
Honestly, it was definitely like a lot of like Journey and Guns N' Roses growing up when I was a kid.
Yeah.
When I started to pick my own music, I started listening to a lot of Korn and Marilyn Manson, Slipknot, Mudvayne. And then my music just progressed from there. I got into a lot of like just metalcore bands and deathcore bands and gent bands, and I mean just the full spectrum of metal.
Nice. You can tell, and I love that. That's like, I'm just gonna straight up ask Fern, were you a Korn fan too?
I'm a little bit different.
You're the different one. Okay.
Believe it or not, I started in hip hop.
Actually, you know what? I think I remember that from your Keep Rock Alive podcast. You did.
I started in hip hop and kind of went into some classic rock, but yes, I love Korn.
Are you from Long Beach?
So I'm from Orange County. I've lived in Long Beach here and there, but might as well say I'm practically am from Long Beach. I live here.
I was gonna say, like, how can you be from Long Beach and not be into hip hop, right?
I practically am. I mean, I've been living here for a while now, but
I mean, especially if Snoop's listening right now. Which I'm sure he is, right? Yeah, Yeah, you
No,
want to make sure you get a shout out there.
And we get a lot of like, I'll hear people will play a lot of like Sublime and
Yeah.
stuff, almost to the point where I go to a bar and I'm like, oh, there you got someone on jukebox Sublime. I get it. You know, LBC.
Hometown heroes,
I like
right?
Sublime. I love Sublime, but there's like every bar like, God damn it, I hear another Sublime song.
Oh, that's the same with me. It's just like go to pretty much any bar and it's AC/DC like nonstop. I love AC/DC, you know, like there's no denying their place in rock, but it's like, can we just play something else, please?
Right? Like you're
Please.
like, I love it, but it's like we get it.
or like similar when like I get into conversations about metal with some people and Metallica comes up and it's like you know, like, oh yeah, I love Metallica. I'm like, oh cool, what's your favorite song? And they say Enter Sandman, and I just get up and leave. Like, just get up and leave, that's all. Anyway, your turn, man. Other than hip hop, what else was it? Like, what was your rock influence? What brought you to where you are now?
Rock influences, just everything like new metal, to be honest, was right up my alley. Like Adema, and you know, obviously we mentioned Korn. Yeah, I listened to some Linkin Park, which we get a lot of comparisons to Linkin Park. I was blasting Hybrid Theory. I remember hearing at Tower Records, you used to be able to listen to the music.
I remember. Yep.
I bought that damn CD. They weren't big at they didn't blow up yet. I remember I bought it for like $6-7. I was like, oh man. I put on the headphones. I'm like, this CD's rocking. So I bought it, and then next thing you know, I was like, you know, but but it was like Linkin Park. Who else? Like Poison the Well was being a big influence
nice.
as well. I've actually seen a lot of their shows. I'm surprised I didn't mention them in a lot of podcasts, but Poison the Well has been a big influence as well. Mostly for like lyrics and stuff.
I've seen Poison the Well at Warped Tour back in 2007. They are just absolutely insane live.
Yeah, they did. I truly feel they're underrated. Like they did a lot of the first scream singing kind of stuff, all integrated.
They were really part of that scene early. They really were.
18 Visions is a huge one.
Yep.
That I rock out. That was a big influence for me. And other than that, yeah, anything from that era, like Deftones is I'm pretty big on. Like anything in that era is pretty good.
Yeah, obviously that stuff. Everybody's dabbled in that area at some point in time. The new metal area seems to be where probably the majority of us were all, I guess, in our 20s or something like that. I'm assuming. Is everybody around the same age here? Or?
I'm 58.
Nice. You look good for 58, bro. Nice.
I take ice baths every day.
It's the mafioso thing. It keeps you young, man. Keeps you young. It's all good. So moving forward, things are changing now in the world. Things are getting back to normal.
Yeah.
I think you guys are just on the cusp of about to go maskless everywhere.
Yeah, June 15th.
Yep.
June 15th. Okay.
Mhm.
Did they push that back? Was it supposed to be earlier?
I don't think so.
I thought it was June 9th for some reason, but I don't know. I drink a lot, so it's
I got a box of face masks I'm ready to burn.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't think we're so far behind you guys. Like I just keep talking about it. It's like fucking CorAnima is about to go maskless and start playing gigs and shit, and here we are way up north where, you know, we're supposed to be the squeaky clean good guys, and we really shit the bed on this one, man. We really did. So like we're just about to enter phase 1 of our reopening process. Probably about the same time that you guys are going maskless. And phase 1 basically means sweet fuck all, really. And it basically means you're allowed to go back into stores at a minimal amount. You still have to wear your mask. Everything I keep reading from our like health ministers and stuff like that is like, be prepared to keep wearing your masks for probably a good year and a half still. And we're like, wow. Like the Americans are laughing at us. That's
like, 6 months and see what happens to us before you get too jealous.
This is
Yes,
true. This is true.
Hey, don't worry, we're not that. If you ever feel bad, just Google Walmart. We're not that far ahead.
Oh no, we got one of our own, man. I see it all the time. Going back to AC/DC, if I have to see one more dude walking around in AC/DC pajama pants with no gitches underneath, like very obvious, I might shoot myself. I just might. Even though we don't have guns in Canada at all. So
Crime rates are better, or
Lucky one.
I don't know. I think they're on the rise, but that's because everybody's fed up with shit.
Yeah.
You lock everybody up in a house for too long and things go wrong.
yeah.
But so what are the looking forward now, as this was my whole point before I got off on that one, is what are the plans here? You guys got some gigs lined up yet, or are you starting to do that?
We don't have any gigs lined up. We still got some more songs to write. We got 3 that we're trying to go into the studio with next. I mean, 3 that are pretty much, they're written. We got the tracks in place. We got some more drums to do on them. Fern's still working on the vocals, so we still got some songs to write. Other than that, it's going to be rehearse. You know, I mean, we definitely don't want to go out there and start playing shows unless we're 100% ready. We want to get playing shows, and we want to get playing shows as fast as possible, but we got to make sure we're ready too.
No, absolutely. You know, the worst thing you can do is get up there unprepared and shit the bed in front of thousands of people, because that's what's gonna
all shit on stage.
I think that's been done, but
but that was on purpose.
But that's trying, at least. That'll get you noticed for sure. That'll get you noticed for sure.
For sure, a lot of hits for the wrong reasons, but sure.
What's the scene like out there in Long Beach? Is it still a pretty big scene?
Shawn might be able to verse this, because I practically stay. I have jars of piss in my house. I practically don't go out, so maybe Shawn can give more rundown on that.
I mean, I gotta be 100% honest. I moved to California 6 months ago in January. So I'm just getting to know the scene out here. I'm just starting to figure things out.
You're from New York, right?
Yeah, I'm from New York.
Okay.
So what I've seen, just kind of doing my research online, there's definitely a scene out here, but COVID has changed a lot of things. So some of the venues are going to open back up, and but I think the downtown LA area is opening up a little faster than Long Beach, and I think we're going to see a lot more shows out there.
Oh, absolutely. LA is where you're going to be. That's where you're going to get noticed for the most part too. It's LA. Well, why wouldn't you be, right? Do you have any aspirations for any places out in LA that you want to play? I'm sure there's some what's that?
I got to play Whiskey a Go-Go.
All right.
Whiskey.
You got to play whiskey.
Good old whiskey. I drank
legendary.
Whiskey at the Go-Go. I don't know.
Every hot market has its legendary places, and they're usually probably look like a hole in the wall for most people. I've never been in the whiskey myself, but I know it doesn't look like a whole lot. I mean, it probably looks. I think they've done
not too bad.
They've done renovations to it over the years, and I think mostly for the fact that because it has a famous name, they kind of keep it running. We've got a place like that in Toronto called the Horseshoe Tavern, and it is literally a hole in the wall. I saw this is years ago. I saw a Theory of a Dead Man concert there, but they had 3 Days Grace opening up for them, and that was before they dropped their first album, so nobody had even heard of them. Needless to say, they were the ones we were talking about when we left. But I can literally remember sitting at just a normal table, if you were going for beer and wings, just sitting on a table. I sat on the table with my feet on the chair, watching 3 Days Grace play, and I kept getting water dripping on my shoulder from just this leaky pipe that was right above me.
Yeah. Oh,
I was just I look up at it, and I wasn't even mad. I was like, this is awesome. The seediest place you could think of, but the stories that come out of that, because I've told it for years, I saw 3 Days Grace before they were a big deal, and they played in this little hole in the wall. And I feel like LA is probably full of those kind of places.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, Viper Room is another one.
You could probably have 8-10 venues going all at once.
Yeah.
Oh, easily. Oh, is the Viper Room still there?
Is it?
Yeah, I think it's still there. I don't know.
A buddies of mine just played there not that long ago.
Yeah, I think it's still there. I played. All those have been fun. I'm sure Ethan, you played a couple of those too.
Johnny Depp doesn't own that still, does he?
Fucking Jack Sparrow. I hope not.
Well, you remember all that crap from the 90s, right?
Yeah.
He's still trying to play bass. Shawn, reach out to him. Tom CorAnima will give him some lessons.
Absolutely. So So you guys are trying to get enough songs together so that
Mhm.
you can get up there and play a set. What is your stance on covers? Have you guys played any? Do you?
We actually have been talking about, we were going to start tossing around some ideas about trying out a couple covers, taking a song and maybe putting our own spin on it.
Nice.
Probably this next practice, we'll go over some ideas about that, but yeah, we'd be open to.
And that's funny you brought that up, because me and Ethan have been, I typically tag something on Instagram, or I'll shoot something Ethan's way and then just kind of take a vote. And we've been talking about some songs back, like new metalish songs, but I like to pick songs that are like that people might not have liked. I don't know, like just obscure things that were maybe controversial possibly, but
What do you mean by controversial?
So
well,
like,
I mean, I know what controversial means, but
no,
give me an
so
example.
Like one of the songs, like not everyone's so PC, whatever. So one of the songs I thought with me and Ethan to cover was "Eat You Alive" by Limp Bizkit.
That is one of their dopest songs, man. Like seriously.
But the problem is, those lyrics are just like,
yeah, they're not good
for people, So I was like, but I'm in my head, I'm thinking this is the right time to release a song like that.
The question you got to ask yourself every morning when you wake up, first thing, you open your eyes and you say, do I want to sing the line, sniff on them panties now? Do I want to sing that? That's what you have to ask yourself.
That's literally what I was saying. I was like, what better way to get some buzz than a song that says sniff on them panties?
You know what? I wouldn't even be mad if you did it. I'd be like, I would plug the shit out of that. I'd be like, here's CorAnima with their latest cover. Like that'd be awesome.
And then it's just screaming, "Eat You Alive."
In all seriousness, I do love that song. The guitar.
I do too. I don't know why people hate on Limp Bizkit, man. The guitarist was sick. That guitarist made that band.
I think what a lot of people hate on Limp Bizkit about was a lot of the media stuff. Like Fred Durst was a bit of a media whore in that sense. He was also very fucking smart when it came to marketing his band and whatnot. I mean, Limp Bizkit was the biggest thing in music, or at least one of the biggest things in music, for like a solid 3 or 4 years.
Oh, yeah.
Like literally never heard of them. Biggest thing ever. Gone again. Like it's unreal.
I was telling you, they literally made new metal, killed new metal
at the same time.
Time.
So funny. Yeah.
Like...
and when I look back on it, because I straight up, like, full disclosure, I was a huge Limp Bizkit fan. I had a significant other wall hanging on my fucking ceiling. Like that was straight up. I was a fan.
I was a fan too. I think people think it's cool. It became this thing. It was cool to hate on them, but it's like, what's funny? It's like people that hate on them, but at the same time, you look at their YouTube. I'm like, where are all those hits coming from?
Well, that's what I mean. It's like they were still in an era back when album sales were a thing, and like tens of millions of copies. I mean, there's no disputing that. You know what I mean? Like people are legitimately buying those records, and most of the people are saying Limp Bizkit sucks probably had that record.
Yep.
And they're just full of shit. We have that biggest problem here in Canada, and it's called Nickelback. Everybody hates on Nickelback. I've hated on Nickelback, like we go round and round. We go round and round on it. But at the end of the day, how do you deny the impact they had on rock music at the time that they blew up? They had a huge impact on Canadian rock music. There's a lot of Canadian rock bands out there like 3 Days Grace that never would have seen the light of day had it not been for bands like Nickelback, who broke the doors wide open for them.
Oh, yeah.
Chad Kruger started his own record label, 604 Records, signed a lot of bands to it. I'm pretty sure he signed Theory of a Dead Man to that record, or to that record label.
And that Spider-Man song.
Yes, the Spider-Man song.
The Spider-Man.
My kid
song.
has that on his playlist, actually. And my wife and I were just talking about that the other day. Like Josie Scott, the lead singer of Saliva, or the former lead singer of Saliva, was on that song, and it's like that dude never got the credit he deserved.
No, that's a dope song.
for being on that song.
Road to save
Yeah,
you.
and the lead singer from Theory of a Dead Man, Tyler Connolly, is in that song. He's playing guitar. He just doesn't.
Oh,
sing.
trippy.
Oh,
I need to
okay.
go. I need to
Fun-
rewatch that. I didn't even know that.
Fun fact. But yeah, going back to that, like all those bands, they all had a significant impact. They all sold millions of records. They all had #1 singles. So people were like, man, this band sucks. It's like, no, they're just, maybe they're not your cup of tea. Maybe you don't like them anymore. Maybe they were overexposed, whatever the case was, but you love them at some point.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
for every meme that Nickelback gets, it's more publicity that people are doing for them.
Honestly,
More buys.
although I will say this.
We're only a few months away.
What's that? You're only what?
I said we're only a few months away from the CorAnima memes.
Oh, okay. I'll get one started for you. Don't worry. I kept throwing. What was it? It was about a month or so ago when I threw out that core animals idea as far as to yeah. So this is what you need to call your fans, and like then I just kept picturing like all these random like animal memes, and I'm just like, oh no, what have I done? You know? And then a squirrel ran by, and then I forgot all about it, so it was fine.
Squirrel.
But, squirrel, yeah. So okay, so Eat You Alive, that's on the table or not really?
Hey, Shawn, what was your ideas?
Anything from Hall & Oates. I don't know.
That would not be a dumb idea at all. It really wouldn't be. That's the thing, right? You could take any pop song, turn it into this style of metal, and dude, it would work.
Yeah.
Just about any song, because the dynamic is so different. I'm not saying go ahead and do Hall & Oates, but if you do,
We're probably.
yeah, we're probably. But you wouldn't be wrong if you did it. That's all. Yeah, I don't want you guys to like divulge too much of that. If you guys got some ideas rolling around that you want to surprise people with, definitely hold on to that. But I think it's really cool that you guys are considering a cover. I know a lot of people shit on covers. They're like, it's not original, like why would I waste my time? And it's like, there's some validity to that, but at the same time, not only does it help you get exposure because it's an instantly recognizable song, but they're just fun as fuck, man.
Yeah,
They really are. Like we had so much fun covering that Pink song that we did. And excuse me, there, finally got one out. If you guys had watched any of our previous podcasts, there's like non-stop burping. Like,
All right, brother. Well,
Jay and I just drink beer the whole bloody time, and it's just like we haven't learned our lesson yet.
I'm gonna get another beer.
Oh, there you go. We just got to a point where we just started rating them, and that kind of became a thing for a little while. Or we'd like everybody would watch the podcast the next day and then be like, hey, did you guys catch that 9 from James the other night? Or whatever. It's like, oh man.
The 9.
It's like, you know what? I don't care how we get recognition, as long as we get recognition.
Like, everybody took off on a beer run. First says beer and then pow, everybody runs.
Yeah. Sean's like, that's a hell of an idea. Of course, he's not back yet. Did he actually have to run to the liquor store? Or
The
you guys don't
core,
have
There
liquor.
There he is.
core alcoholics.
Oh,
Yeah,
core
we had
alcoholics, nice. Oh, you got a glass, man. You're
Oh,
fancy.
Sean's is fancy. His looks like someone poured it from Buffalo Wild Wings.
You got like a dark ale happening there too. What's going on with that?
Yeah,
I got the back. They take care of all my alcohol needs.
Oh, nice.
a lager.
Yeah, my bandmate works for a beer distributing company, so yeah, we're all set.
I was
Sponsors.
What's that?
We're accepting sponsors.
Yeah, all the time.
I was in quality for a beer company for 8 years.
Oh wow. Did you get free beer out of that?
I did. I got a lot of it.
I got a lot of it. How do you give up a job like that? Like, did you regret it instantly when you finished and then you had your last day? You were like, oh no, free beer, gone.
Yeah, you give up a job like that by going to rehab.
Wait, was that serious? Should I be laughing right now?
No, Ethan knows I'm laughing, but yes, he's serious. But good for Ethan. Good for you, brother.
Okay, so you don't drink then?
No, I don't drink.
Okay, man, cool. I will not make a big deal about this then.
No, I'm fine with it. Yeah, I don't have any issues with. I mean, you know, we'll go to rehearsals or practices and stuff, or we'll go have lunch or something. They'll have a couple beers. It doesn't bother me.
Yeah, he is very disciplined, considering there's beer cans everywhere usually.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's good. Well, it's good on both ends. It's good that you're disciplined.
Mhm.
It's good that it doesn't bother you.
But you know what helps is we don't ever give them, like, we respect it. We don't ever give them shit. We're not like, I hate when people do that. They're like, oh man, just one's not gonna
Oh,
hurt.
fuck those people,
That's
man.
not
Yeah.
Fuck those people. Yeah,
It's
no.
like, man, you don't drink that. We don't even go his direction. You know, it's like, leave him be.
No, exactly. No, I respect that. I had an alcoholic in the family, and some people can deal with it, some people can't. And you know, when you make your decision, you know, you made the right decision. You made the right
Yeah.
decision for yourself. And I hope you can be, honestly, this would be a great thing. You know, you guys make it big, because you're fucking gonna. So when you make it big, you'll be a light for other people in the industry who struggle with that. So that's a
And
good thing.
That did kind of have a little bit of inspiration in some of from the music perspective. Obviously, Fern writes the lyrics, so from the literal meanings or the metaphorical meanings in the lyrics and stuff may be something different. But everything that I've written, all the songs that I've written, like they often come from a dark place or a dark background. But like I always try to bring some color to it or to bring some energy to it, to have like this sense of hope. You know, the
Right.
sense of not giving up, the sense of keep fighting, keep pushing forward, keep doing the best you can, keep putting all your effort into it. And once you
Absolutely.
keep doing that, you keep doing that, keep doing that, then you can get a success. You know, with my drinking, I failed several times. I would quit drinking and then I would relapse. I'd quit and then I would relapse, and I'd quit and I would relapse, and I'd go to a rehab, and then I'd come out and I'd relapse. I'd go to a different rehab, and then I'd relapse, and just over and over. But I kept trying, I kept trying, I kept trying. And now I've been sober for a year and a half.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you, and I'm really proud of that. And like I
You
said,
should be.
now I try to put that emotion with that into the music as well. You know, that you're up against a wall. If you're in the fight for your life, you're up against something you just can't beat. You just keep fighting, and that's the kind of emotion that I want to try to bring out from the music side.
And I agree. One of the my, I don't know what you call them, famous sayings or whatever, but my favorite one has to be the one about and not being how many times you get knocked down, how many times you get back up. That's what it's all about. You know what I mean? You knock me on my ass all day long, but I'm going to keep standing up. I'm a bit of a nerd, as you can tell.
That's right.
That's all of us then.
There you go. Captain America, though, is my homie.
Yeah.
Always has been. Which is why, and he always had, and when I say he always has been, I mean that. I mean like since I was like a kid, Captain America was my guy. So I thought it was absolutely badass that in the movies, his famous line that he manages to say, I think in every movie that he's in, is he keeps getting his ass kicked, and then he stands back up, and he just gets those fists back up, and he just says, I can do this all day.
Mhm.
And like, I love it. And like that is what being a hero is all about. It's just, it's not how much you achieve per se, it's being able to get knocked down and showing people that you got no problem standing back up. And that's what you've shown with that. You got back up, you're still on your feet. It's been a year and a half. Fuck yeah, man. To you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
To that extent, that's
Now everybody
funny.
drink a beer for it.
Yeah. I know. I kind of hesitated. I'm like,
Go ahead.
I mean, to that extent, funny you say that, because so my favorite thing is the thing that I take pride in is I'm not afraid of failure. Failure makes us better. And actually a lot of the music and the vocals and choruses that I've written, and the reason when people are like, oh shit, you really wailed on those choruses. Well, that came as a result of a lot of failure and people telling me, you can't sing, you can't write, you can't do this. So I took all that energy, all that dedication, and I was like, well, I'm going to write something that's just going to blow people away. And I'm not ever, I don't think people should be afraid to fail, because I failed so many times. It's still failing up to this point, but it's how you use that failure to make yourself a better, whatever it is that you do, better musician, better husband, better this, better that. And then the one thing that with me and Ethan is we have a natural chemistry, the way, the way he writes and the way I write lyrics and things like that, with us combined, the music we just have this natural chemistry. I can write very easily to Ethan's stuff that he writes because we almost have like it's funny, he'll text me and then I'll message him. We almost have like a telepathic kind of mindset sometimes. Ethan's the quiet one, the quiet mindset, and I'm always the verbal vocal one, but we're always on the same page one way or another. And that also helps in the writing process because I can tell him, certain things that I don't like, and he's already on it. He already knows kind of what I'm thinking, and then I already know how he's thinking when he writes a song, which is kind of weird. But I think the best relationships in a lot of music history have always been vocalist, guitarist.
Mm-hmm.
Have a good in sync. You get a good handle on kind of the way things go.
I wholeheartedly agree. I have the same relationship with Jason, with what we do. It's the same thing. He'll we don't get a lot of the in the same room activity that we did before. So a lot of our last record that I don't know seems to be missing somewhere now, but it resulted in a lot of well, why don't we try this? Why don't you do that? And he's really good with vocals, even though he doesn't sing for the band. And I'm pretty good with my input for guitar, even though if you put a guitar in my hands, I wouldn't know what the fuck to do with it. Honestly, it's all in what we hear. And like you said, that relationship, being able to, it's not so much about reading each other's thoughts, but I think it's about being able to take criticism or failure or whatever, and somehow being able to turn that into a positive. So a good, for instance, is Jay's got no problem telling me when I'm tracking vocals, I'll hit something, especially when it's a higher note or something like that. And I'll finish it and I'll be like, how was that? And he'd be like, you can do better, do it again. And he's got no problem telling me that. And I trusted that enough that I know that when he says, you got it, man, that I know I did. Mm-hmm. So it's funny that you say, well, not funny that you say that you're not afraid of failure. Because I am fucking deathly afraid of failing with a lot of shit. Not in a debilitating sense, just that I don't want to. Do you know what I mean? But I also realize the same thing. That's why I always keep going back to that Captain America shit, right? The failing part is just getting knocked down. It's now it's up to me to stand back up and do it again. And just do it again. I know what my capabilities are. You know what yours are, as far as being a vocalist is concerned. We have a ceiling, right? You know what your range is. Sometimes you get to a point where you think you can push past that ceiling. And on some days you do, and other days you don't. The whole point is if you're trying to get something and you've hit it before, you just keep trying and you'll hit it eventually. Doesn't matter how many times you fail. That first time that I try to hit that note and I fail it, fuck, I hate it. It sucks. I hate that feeling. So maybe afraid's not the word that I was looking for as far as the failure is concerned. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. But I know that I just got to keep plugging away at it, and eventually I'm going to get it. So
that's kind of the core of CorAnima. You know what I mean? It's that heart and soul. It's that never give up mentality that always fight and always strive. No matter how many times you fall, you always get back up. Just that heart and soul, So we resonate with that a lot.
Yeah. And that's a good message to send out, with your music to your fans, all that sort of thing. It's really hard to send a lot of positive messages out with our style of music, because a lot of people view it as not necessarily a very positive thing. They look at it as angry and angsty and, all that kind of shit. And that's all there too, but it's all in how you choose to receive it. You know what I mean? I can listen to Vivamus. I'm never going to know how to pronounce it.
Whatever. I know.
I know, but every time I say it, I'm going to be like, Vivamus.
I know. The other day I was driving, I was like, what is it?
I'm just going to start referring to it as Vimus in my head. But when I listen to that, if I'm in the mood, if I'm angry, there is plenty of shit in that song to help feed that, to help me I don't know whether either I need to get something out or whatever the case is. I mean, it's got all those heavy hooks in it. You know, it's just, it has that for me. But if I want to find myself in a bit of a deeper place, like your lyrics, dude, like they're deep. I like them, man. Like they're there, and they can take you to a place where you feel like you can like kind of rise up. Do you know what I mean? Like you take yourself from a shitty place and bring yourself up. And then once you get up to that point, then you can enjoy the heaviness aspect of it all, right? So it's like being able to, like I said, to project that positive vibe, especially out of metal music. It's very important. So even if you don't necessarily get it across just in your music, like point blank, when you do shit like this, when you do interviews, you know, with like much more reputable people than me, that's an important thing to be putting out there, man. It's positive vibes, all that kind of shit. Because
yeah, I mean, yeah, you're 100% right. You know, because when I wrote that, when I was writing that song, it took it. I'll be honest. I've told Ethan this a bunch of times. It really did drain me quite a bit, to almost to the point where I almost ended up hating the song. But at the same time, it did hearing it back, because it took me to a place I didn't want to go, and it did kind of almost kind of kind of choked me up a little bit, and it did the same thing for Ethan, which I go, okay, so because and someone asked me one time, I remember they were like, can you send me lyrics or this? I sent them the lyrics to the song, and I gave them a little bit of the context of what it was about, and they were just like blown away. They're like, wow. They're like, and then people say this all the time. They go, it's like they're on a journey, and they go, well, yeah, I'm taking you on a personal journey of something that was kind of coming from a very dark place, but also from a hopeful place at the end of the song. But and that's what I mean by like I hated writing it, and it took me to some places I didn't want to go. And but once it got done and everything, you know, it was like, okay, cool, wow, that's a very powerful song. It gave me chills, kind of, even as I was driving, I was hearing it, and I felt some chills, and I was like, dude, like
when you write your lyrics, do you write them with the intention, because you obviously write from personal experience, which is the same thing I do, but do you write with the intention of people 100% knowing what you're talking about, like knowing where you're coming from, what your story is about? Or do you put it out there in a sense where it's just like, if you get it, you get it, but is there a certain wiggle room for interpretation there that maybe you leave on purpose? Or what's your thought process there?
Yeah, for some songs there is, like, for example, like sometimes I used to write very, very metaphorical, very just vague, very just however I feel. I just write lyrics on what comes to my mind really quick. Sometimes I'll be walking my dog, I'll be walking the street, and if an idea comes to my head, I get my phone, whatever I have on me, and I just start writing lyrics, or I start humming something in my head. So sometimes I look like a crazy person as I'm walking, you know, and I'll have to make sure no one's looking at me nowadays. I'm just like, oh, I was humming something. But for like Ember was a song that, now thinking back on it, I thought it was just a song about anything. Because someone asked me, they're like, did you write that about your ex? And I was like, I don't think I really didn't. You know, it's close to my ex's name. Just as a FYI, anyone looks, it's pretty obvious. You just, but like, I really didn't write it that way. But because now that I listened to it back, the way I felt, because Ember, when you look up Ember means kind of like a rain shower.
Yep.
And it's almost like I was washing myself of, now that I think about it, I'm like, the song itself is kind of like, well, I didn't just pick that for a reason. I kind of was, it was a pissed off song. And I go, maybe I did write it with that intent. And the song Rain Shower is like washing myself off of that person, you know? And it was kind of like, but the song comes across like that, like a very gritty F you, like in your face kind of thing. And I'm like, I guess maybe that's how I was feeling at the time. I didn't think so, but I think maybe the way I was feeling at the time.
You subconsciously wrote it that way.
I subconsciously wrote it and picked even the name of the song. So I was like, wow, that's kind of, I did have that in mind. I don't know. Now that I think about it. No.
Demon. Yeah, that process with writing, I can resonate with that as well. so many things I've just jotted it down on paper and thought it was just me sounding clever or whatever. And then I realized I'm like, oh no, this is all thematically resembles this. And it's like, yeah, that's probably exactly what I meant to talk about. I just didn't realize it at the time. And then other things are, most definitely on purpose. Shawn, I wanted to ask you, as far as the writing process is concerned, what kind of input have you contributed to the song so far?
So right now we are like in the rehearsal, writing, recording phase. A lot of the songs were like presented to me completely done and like ready to go. So a lot of the stuff like I haven't had a chance to really have an input on, but all of the newer stuff that we're about to go in the studio and do, I'll definitely like have my own input on.
Nice.
More of like or groovy kind of genty vibe to things. So I think you'll definitely hear a little more bounce in the bass and things moving forward with some of the songs.
Is that basically the process where you have kind of like a generic, great value version of what you are going to eventually put out there, and then everybody kind of puts their spin on everything, and voila, you've got, the entire CorAnima.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ethan, I think Ethan will be able to talk about that better, but I think, that's kind of going to be the approach.
Okay.
Yeah, we kind of have a pretty good opportunity, something we're going to get to work on, since we have, Shawn in the band, and we also have Piotr in the band as well. One thing that those two guys are going to bring is a bit more, I can't think of a better, it's like style to it. There's going to, like, it's a little bit more hop to it, a little bit more, I can't even think of the right words besides the word style, especially coming from the bass and drums, the rhythm section. So I think it's going to get to have a bit more detail. I mean, like he was saying, when we had already had basically the first 5 or 6 songs, first 4 songs were already recorded. We were working on the 5th song. And then, so he pretty much got those, just presented them as they were. But now we're going to be going to the studio, working on, the next, 5, 6, and 7. And in this case, we're actually going to go back and we're going to be using Piotr's live drums, and then we'll be able to do some different stuff with the bass that Shawn is trying out, and then with different things coming from the drum side of it, then I start changing up some of my rhythms and yet again kind of evolve a little bit more. So I think what's great about our situation is that even within this short time frame, we get to show an evolution of where we're going.
I love that. Yeah. The word evolution's been a word I've been throwing out a lot lately, because that's kind of where we're heading ourselves, trying to evolve, trying to change things up, take our core sound and just push that envelope a little bit more. So conspicuous by his absence, Piotr. Did I say that right?
I believe so.
Piotr? Okay. That's the part that I was like mostly disappointed about, was like, fuck, I wanted to impress him with how I just knew how to say his name right away, because I saw he had to keep correcting Carol on I was watching that podcast on my way home from work, and like I just kept laughing because like she couldn't say his name right, and he kept, like he was very respectable about it, but basically he was like calling her out on it. It's just like, yeah, Piotr. She's like Piotr. I love Carol. We I did a sit down with her and Mike. She's an absolute riot. He definitely brought the old difficult name with him to try and pronounce, and she delivered, man. That was awesome. So talking about him, so he actually, like, he's technically not on anything that we've heard yet, correct?
Correct.
So moving forward, is he going to be on Morden?
Yes.
All right. So when we listen to the drums, that's going to be Piotr.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
That
Awesome.
It will no longer be our artificial intelligence.
Artificial. Hey man, there's nothing wrong with that.
In your breakdown that you guys had, you guys were talking about the drums. I kind of had a process with our drums too. So I started with just a generic sampling unit in which I just kind of wrote out the drums and how I wanted it. But with those samplers like that, I mean, you get a very mechanical sound. It's lifeless. There's no energy.
Yeah.
So what I had done in the past is I had wrote it that way, and then I had a drummer listen to it, and the drummer would learn it and then play it. And then I would record what he played. Problem is I suck ass at recording. So I then would so once I got the tracks recorded, I would gate the fuck out of it, get it all the way down to all you could really tell out of the track was the rhythm from like the bass drum, the snare drum, or the toms.
Right.
And I took that and I loaded that into, and I transferred that over into a MIDI track and then ran it back through Modern Massive, and then that's how I came up with those tracks. So it was physically a drummer that played it.
Yeah.
And of course, editing afterwards, there was some things like, if you get real detailed on the hi-hat, or you get, you're going off on your cymbals or something like that, the MIDI's not going to be able to pick that up whenever you're transferring it over. It's just going to be a big jumbled mess. So I had to fix a lot of that. But that it was a drummer that physically played on it that I then put into a sampler. So that was kind of the process before.
Well, the process definitely worked, because until you had mentioned that in the live feed when we aired that video about the breakdown for Unveiled, I had no idea.
Yeah.
I had no idea that stuff was programmed, and until Jay admitted it, I think he had said it in something previously. I can't remember, but there was a lot of people that kind of made the face because you couldn't tell, at least, and I could never tell that those drums were programmed on our stuff either. The beauty thing is Jason is a drummer. So whatever it is that he does, I mean, he does it with a drummer's mentality. I try to pick out, the parts of it that are going to sound like, oh, like this is programmed, and I can't. And I don't do that because I want to call him out on it. I do it because I'm challenging the sound of those drums, and he wins every time. Now, the cool thing is, moving forward, playing live, we got a couple of guys that we're going to bring on that we'll announce later. But he was going to play guitar, and we put an ad out for somebody to play drums. And man, I don't know what it's like in the US, much less the West Coast or anything like that. But trying to find a fucking drummer, man, is probably the hardest thing, because I mean, it's not that guitar is easy or anything like that, but there just seems to be like 100 guitarists for every 10 drummers, and then you get that drummer and it's just like, is that drummer just a simple, like, kick, snare. Like I can kick, I keep a really good beat, that sort of thing. Like I can be playing country songs or something like that. No disrespect to country drummers or anything like that. But trying to find a drummer to play the kind of style that we all play is a lot more difficult. So then we're sitting around doing this an acoustic jam together, just kind of practicing for an actual acoustic performance that we plan on doing in the future. He starts showing some videos of him playing the drums back in the day. And he's just doing some playthroughs or whatnot to some metalcore songs or whatever. And that's how I met Jason. He was a drummer. We were both playing in different bands, and that dude is unreal on the drums. And when I saw the videos, I was like, the fuck, you're going to play guitar? You're playing the drums, man. That's what we need. That's why we can't find a drummer, because no one's ever going to live up to the standard of drum playing that he's going to be looking for, because he's the drummer. He knows what he wants it to sound like, so ultimately moving forward, he's going to be playing the drums, which is super exciting. And then obviously, so it's super exciting coming back around to Piot. Like, obviously nobody has heard this guy play except for you guys. So I don't know how you can put this into words, but
all right,
what can we,
Then we're gonna put it in. He's a fucking winner, dude.
He's a winner. Okay, so where can we expect? Like, is this dude just insane on the drums or what?
he like I've said before, he brings a lot more. He brings a lot more style to it, a bit more that extra emphasis or that extra detail that just gives you. I don't know. Maybe somebody's got some better words for it, but it just kind of it hits you a little bit more. It's got that. He can put a little bit more anticipation to it, that pull back and the push forward to get you to kind of blow up, and he can play to a click track nonstop without ever hiccup.
I feel like the vibe he's going to bring is going to be insane. I caught that he had a lot of his influences were like Rage Against the Machine. I remember mentioning that, which means this dude's probably got a lot of groove in his head. Like he's to be able to play like a solid groove beat that is just going to be funky as fuck, which is great because I noticed that's in his email name.
Yeah.
Funky. Listen, people play drums and some people are drums. Yeah. And Piot,
that's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And it's like not to the point of like, I mean, not from a metal style of heavy, but like when we play it live, even the songs that you guys have heard when we play it live, like the feel from it and like the kind of emphasis he places on it, it just feels heavier.
Right.
You know what I mean? Not from a metal perspective, just heavier from
like organic.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a completely different vibe the moment people are able to hear these songs live.
I wouldn't call it completely different, but it is different. To me, it is a heavier feel.
Cool.
I mean, you'll recognize the songs. The songs still, they have the same progression. They have the same overall feel throughout the song.
Mm-hmm.
Just heavier.
Yeah.
You'll feel it. You'll really feel it, you know?
Yeah. I agree with that too. And I think that's the same thing we're going to experience. And no matter how good those drums can be when you program them these days, because we can all attest to like now compared to like, I don't know, like 2006, it's like fucking night and day. You use programmable drums in 2006, you know, a deaf person can tell the difference. They know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Nowadays, it's like I said, like I couldn't tell listening to your stuff. Most people, as far as I was aware, couldn't tell from our stuff. And it wasn't all of our stuff. He actually did play drums. It was either on the first record or the second record. I can't remember now. But that's the thing is that there actually is some live drums in there and then there isn't. You can't tell the bloody difference whatsoever. But on a stage and like just like organically, like straight up live playing, like not even just that, like guitar, everything. Everyone's going to put a spin on it because you've got a different vibe between being in a studio and playing the notes that you know you're supposed to be playing. Even singing, like I can attest to this. I'm being a singer, and then I'm sure Fern can. Like, I know what I'm supposed to sing, but the fuck if I'm gonna sing it like as like step by step, you know, as it is on the record or whatever like that. I mean, a lot of stuff I will, but you're gonna try different things. You're gonna find different notes. You're gonna extend things here and there. Like you give that whole new experience, and like just talking about this stuff just makes me like I'm like frothing for live stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point too, because you know, for your live shows, why would you want to do exactly the same thing what you have on the recording? You know, I mean, if people just wanted to hear your recording, just play the recording. You know,
well, and I would talk to people
for an experience.
Yeah, you know? So some people I would hear that over the years when they'd go to see certain bands live, and it's like, "Oh, how was it?" They'd be like, "Oh, it was great." You know, like they sounded just like they did on the CD, and I'd be like, "Well, that sucks."
Yeah.
You know, like you drove 2 hours to go to a show that you paid, you know, $100 for the ticket, and then God knows what else you spent there just to listen to the CD.
You're a singer hitting notes. What the fuck?
Yeah. You know, like, you know,
you got gypped. I drive to see a singer fuck up.
Right. 100%. 100%. One of the best experiences I've ever seen with live stuff was watching Woodstock 99. Metallica comes out and James Hetfield sang the second verse to Fuel in the first verse. And you saw it register on his face. What's that?
I've done that. As a matter of fact, these guys
I've done it.
I flip-flopped the verses a couple times.
I've done it in my old band. I've completely forgotten lyrics and made up lyrics on the spot.
I've done some Muppet style shit too, like
real quick, most embarrassing moment because it's along the same lines of forgetting lyrics. I was opening up for this is way back early 2000s. I was opening up for Shaman's Harvest.
What?
And yeah, and we were playing at the Blue Note in Columbia, Missouri. And you know, it was a pretty packed house, a pretty big show. I mean, I'm gonna say maybe there was at least 1,000 people in there. And as a song, I'm supposed to start it. I do the intro. I play the wrong freaking song, and I stopped. Okay.
Well, at least
Even
you stopped.
worse.
At least it wasn't like an Ashley Simpson
But-
SNL thing.
Yeah, it was the crowd was completely 100% quiet. There was not a single sound in the crowd except for my older sister laughing at me.
Oh no!
That was the only thing you heard in the whole room. Was my older sister busting a gut at me screwing up.
I would have been the guy in the back going like, "Play Freebird."
Yeah, of course.
To be fair, I'd be laughing my ass off too. I'd be that asshole in the same band just laughing.
Oh man, that sucks. You opened for Shaman's Harvest?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I am a Shaman's Harvest
we used to
mark, dude. I love
we
that
used
band.
to we used to trade shows because they were originally from Jeff City, Missouri,
Mhm.
and obviously they've gotten a lot bigger since then. So they played a lot in Columbia. We played more over like I went to college in Warrensburg, Missouri, not far from Kansas City. So we played a lot in those areas. So they'd come over and play a show with us over on the west side of Missouri, and then we go play a show with them. They were really cool guys, but of course, my singer and their singer almost got in a fight once. That didn't turn out too good, but
For who?
but
Because
yeah,
the lead singer of Shaman's Harvest is a big dude.
yeah, well, so was my singer.
Oh, okay.
That's why they got in a fight.
It wouldn't have been. Let's just say it would not have been
Two rhinos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, but those guys were. I remember their guitar player. I got to talk with him. He was a really cool, laid back dude, and it's like I can't believe this guy's even talking to me after watching him play guitar. It's like I'll never be able to do that, you know.
So, are you still in contact with them? Like, can you
No,
still
no.
contact them? No,
No way. No.
They
not
said,
even a little bit.
and see
So,
you
like,
later.
if you messaged them, found a way to message them and said like, hey, you know, this is Ethan from whatever your band was back in the day or whatever, would they know who you are?
Maybe. I don't know how drunk they were.
Well, that's a good point. I'm just
Gotta bring
saying,
up-
man, that might be an in, right? Because I mean,
Um,
they're not. I don't even know how to say this, like, because I don't want to say like they're not setting the world on fire, because as far as I'm concerned, they fucking are. Like their 2014 album, the hell was it called? Smoking Hearts and something Guns, something like that. Like solid album from start to finish. And like they just came out with a new single. I'm pretty sure it's called Bird Dog, which like right away. Yeah, right away I looked at the title and I'm like, I don't even know, but I gotta listen to this.
It's like, what should we name the song? Bird Dog.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I don't know how you come to that decision, but damn, if it wasn't Shaman's Harvest,
Yeah.
like because it was them, I'm like, I'm gonna listen to this, and it was so good.
And
I
then, you know, you talk about guys that put on good shows. I mean, back then, back in early 2000, these guys were putting on, you know, lightning fire great shows. I mean,
Well, they used
had
to
all
do-
the theatrics going, and this is even and way back 20 years ago.
They used to do what, like probably around this time, I'm guessing, because like I said, I'm a big mark for these guys. They used to do this cover of Is This Love by Whitesnake. And they did this like acoustic-y kind of, because they got like a bit of a country, like southern rock vibe to them, just heavier. And I remember seeing that for the first time. Like it was just a YouTube video. It looked like they were playing in front of like 6 fucking people, something like that. But it was so good. It was just like, if that was the version of that song that I had grown up listening to, I'd probably have a lot cooler things to say about that like era of music or whatever, right? Not that it was bad. It just wasn't really my era. That's all.
That was an acoustic version. He said it was an acoustic show.
Yeah, they did an acoustic version. Yeah.
What year?
Fuck, I want to say it was like 06.
I don't know that one.
A little
We
too
did
late.
Yeah, we did some acoustic shows with them, but that was back in like 2001, 2002.
Oh yeah. 06. So this was probably just like literally like a couple of years before they started recording their first major. Was it?
Yeah.
Would it be major label? I don't know. Their breakthrough, the one that had Dragonfly on it. Anyway,
Yeah.
that was their big
Dragonfly.
record.
Yeah.
So It's kind of cool. I love how this organically happens. So we're kind of talking about a mainstream band here. So I talked to you a little bit about this. What do we call it? Then the pre-show before everybody else showed up. So comparing the indie scene these days to mainstream is not the same conversation we would have had 10 years ago.
Right.
Mainly due to the fact, well, I don't even know if mainly due to the fact, I know everybody's gear, all the stuff people can use. I mean, everybody sounds so much better than they would have 10 years ago. But I think it's more than that, especially over the last year. I think COVID has brought out this resurgence in indie music, where you've got everybody's gone back to the roots, bands that weren't doing anything, or people who weren't even in bands but used to be and weren't doing anything. We're like, well, shit, I'm just sitting at home doing sweet fuck all because I can't even go wander around at Walmart looking at people walking around in AC/DC pajamas. So, what am I going to do? So they pick up that fucking dusty old acoustic guitar sitting in the corner or whatever the case may be, and they start writing music again. And here we are. I feel, if you look around in the community, that there's a giant indie resurgence as compared to back in the day. And indie to me now, especially over the last several months with this community on Twitter and on Instagram and whatnot, means so much different, something so much different to me now than it used to. When I used to think indie, it's like when you think of pop music. Pop music in its sense isn't actually a genre. I mean, it is now, but pop music is literally just what it is. It's popular music. So pop music could be metal if metal was popular. So that being said, indie isn't a genre, but it kind of is. So when you think of indie, you think of like that folksy stuff, more of an acoustic vibe, just the lighter side of things, for the most part. Now I don't think that way anymore. Now I think of guys like you, guys like us, guys like Any Given Sin, guys like Dusty Grant, guys like Kingdom Collapse.
Yep.
And some of these bands can claim to be top 40 bands now because they've cracked that Billboard top 40, those mainstream rock charts or whatever. And like, again, I'm just gonna keep saying this, I'm gonna see your guy's name on there one day. I guarantee it. Guarantee it. I'm saying it right now. If nobody else has said that to you in those words, let this be the first time. And remember that I said that, because you guys are going to be on there one day. So that's just to my point is, so I made this playlist, one of many, on Spotify, and I called it, I forgot what I called it back then, and I forgot what I call it now, but it's something about top 40 plus 2. And the joke was, what's that?
Core years. I don't know.
I don't know. It was a top 40 of some kind. And then the joke was plus 2. And everybody was like, what's the plus 2? And that's because we added 2 of our songs to it because it's my playlist. But you guys, how I broke it down, I explained this to Ethan, was how I broke it down was Spotify for Artists will give you your top 20 fans also listening to, like what your fans are also listening to. When you first start out with that algorithm, you might not have 20 bands, but eventually we got up to that. There was enough where we had 20 other bands that Spotify was saying that our fans were listening to. And from the moment you guys showed up, like on our fans are also listening to, it was the number 1 spot. So, and it is a number 1 spot because you can tell in terms of like the trends, like what people are listening to. You start seeing certain bands kind of slowly moving down the list, and eventually they fall off. They might still be on your radio or whatever the case may be, but they're not on that top 20 list. You guys were in the number 1 spot all the way up until, for whatever reason, we lost it. So you guys were there. So I was like, I think it'd be really cool to take our top 20 bands that our fans listen to, and then take the top 20 bands on the Billboard mainstream charts, like the rock charts, and just start doing a 1-for-1 thing. So I started off shamelessly with our own song right at the top. And then I followed it up with what was number 1 that week on the mainstream charts. And that was Bruised and Bloodied by Seether. And then right after that, was Vivamus right underneath there. Which I think just before everything got fucked up, I changed that to Somnium, because I have the power. So I just did that. And that was the thing. So I think it worked. Like my top three, I think was you guys, the Failsafe, Dusty Grant. So, and the reason I did it a certain way, especially with the other playlist, the big playlist, was when you add to playlists, the top 4 things that you put on your playlist get on that cover for that playlist. And I wanted people to be able to see like your name. Like I wanted to be everybody to see that CorAnima is on this list without actually having to click on it to find out. You know what I mean? So that's what I thought. And the thing is I didn't have to try. I'm a stickler for my own rules. So it's kind of like if for whatever reason you guys had fallen down to the number 6 spot, it would have killed me, but I'll move you guys out of there or whatever. But if that's the point, is I didn't have to. You guys were in the spot that I wanted to put you anyway. You were in the number 1 spot. So like I said, us. And then I put you guys right there beside us because that's how I wanted to promote it. And it just worked out organically that way. And then when I added the mainstream stuff, it was like us, Seether, you, I don't fucking know whoever the next one was. Bring Me the Horizon or Chevelle or somebody. It changes all the time. Yeah. But the reason I did that list was because I wanted people to kind of listen to it in the sense of like, I like listening to playlists the way they were organized. So when I listen to like Rock Hard or anything like that on Spotify, like I don't know you guys if you guys use Spotify primarily or what you use. When I listen to Rock Hard, I listen like first song and I don't hit random because I feel that they've curated this a certain way that they want me to hear it this way. And you can usually tell like those first 10 songs on Rock Hard, those are the biggest songs in hard rock right now. Biggest thing going. I think right now, if you go to it, the first track is Spirit Box, and those guys are like lighting it up, right? So Canadian.
Funny, we kind of did the concept album thing. I told Ethan because I was watching what Spirit Box does, and they released their singles, and that's where kind of got the idea of.
Nice. That. There you go. See how this all works out. I love that.
Circle.
So I wanted to see how all of these songs we're going to measure up to each other in terms of like, can people tell the difference that this is a mainstream artist? So like, again, Seether, because Seether was number 1 that week, and then go right to CorAnima. Can they tell that both of these bands are on different playing fields in the game? And nobody could. I was getting comments about it. People that didn't know who you were just kind of like, who is this CorAnima band? I looked them up. Like, this is the funny thing because it's like, I don't know where they looked you up, but I can't find them anywhere. It's like, Spotify, they're fucking there. Like, they're on my playlist. But I guess they were looking for more information. And the fact that they couldn't find any information weirded them out. And that told me, that was when the light bulb went off. It's like, they thought you guys were a fucking mainstream band. Straight up. Like they just thought because you played your right after Seether or whatever, they just thought like, okay, 12 Years Today, like, you know, we like this band, so I'm gonna check out his playlist and stuff like that. Oh, these are all the bands that he likes and that he listens to, and you know, his influences and shit like that. And again, usually when you make those kind of lists, those first few bands at the top, you know what I mean? Like if I were to make that kind of a list, it would be like, you know, Seether, Breaking Benjamin, Metallica, whatever, right? Like you just have all these bands up there like from your influences. So when they see CorAnima, they were just like, it's just another mainstream rock band, but I haven't heard of them before. So weird. Why haven't I heard of them? Looking them up, can't find anything. Oh, okay, well there they are, but they've only got like 3 songs. Where did they chart? You know, like what's their website? What's this? What's that? And it's like,
it's an OnlyFans subscription.
Yeah,
it all leads to an OnlyFans subscription.
What you see depends on how much you pay. But I thought that was awesome because that answered my question. That's what, and the whole reason that I did it in the first place. You can't tell the difference. You can't tell that you guys haven't been doing this forever. I mean, you have in a sense. I mean, it's not you. This isn't your first fucking walk around the track or anything like that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you haven't had a major record deal for the last 10, 20 years. You know what I mean? You don't have, I mean, I don't know what kind of gear you have, but I'm assuming you don't have the best gear money can buy. Maybe you do. But all the same shit that those bands have behind them, chances are you don't have it because
You know
you're an
what we
indie
do
band.
have though? We have CorAnima. We have heart and soul.
Fucking right. See? And that's all you need right there. Done. And there's a lot that can be said for that because there's a lot of mainstream bands who lack that heart and soul and they're literally just riding the pine, man. They're just be like, oh man, back in 2003, we were the shit. We had #1 song. I'm not going to name anybody, but like, you know, there's a lot of bands that are like that. But that was what I thought was the coolest thing. And that's why I create these playlists is because I want to showcase, certain bands and how fucking good they sound compared to mainstream so that people can get it through their heads that you don't need to go to the charts. You don't need to turn on mainstream radio to hear what's good. You don't. All you need to do is look no further than the people that are just telling you, say, hey, look, we're here. We were influenced by this band. Because now, man, nowadays, if I hear a band that says like, we were influenced by Seven Dust, Alice in Chains, Kill Switch Engage, you know, whatever. I'm like, okay, you got my attention. You know what I mean? Now, if you said like, I was influenced by the Beatles and stuff like that. Hey, cool. Don't care. Like, I'm just not looking for that myself. I'm not looking for it. But when I see those bands, that gives me an idea that, well, this is them subliminally telling me that we probably kind of sound like these guys a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
that's funny you mentioned that because so like I'm not as tech savvy as Ethan, but I was, you know, before we were starting to get a lot of hits and stuff. I was always telling Ethan like, God, these bands that come out after our playlist is just terrible. When I go on Spotify, and then all of a sudden, I was like, oh man, this band was pretty good that came on after us. I go, they're starting to put, and then Ethan was the one that was like, oh, those are bands that we're friends with. What, really? And I started Googling it, and then he's like, they're starting to put us with the same algorithm. And then I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I didn't know that. So Ethan's the one that's always educating me.
Yeah.
As to why the bands that are coming on after are sounding better and better. Every time our song come off or finish playing, you know, and I'm like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And we were noticing the same thing. We were getting put on the same algorithm as bands like Saul and Any Given Sin and Plush and stuff like that. And I thought it was really cool that not only were we all in the same genre, but like I look at these guys like they are kind of mainstream, but they're not mega mainstream. Like they've just made it. You know what I mean? They're like the champions of indie kind of thing. And I thought it was pretty cool that the algorithm kind of recognized that. They didn't just put us with Seven Dust and all those, even though that would be super cool too. But they're not lying to anybody. They're not saying like Mega Millions. Never heard of these guys. Mega Millions, you know what I mean? Like they're keeping it real that way. And I think there's a lot to be said for that. I mean, algorithms are kind of fucked in a way, but at the same time, they do kind of work.
Yes, some of the reason why some of our songs were a little behind was I was telling Ethan that when I was on the Spotify playlist, some of the first song music we were on were so atrocious. I was starting to write patterns and lyrics for those bands, and just on my way home, I was just like, Ethan, I got these cool chorus ideas for like, this band that I never heard of. It was so awful, but I think I can do this rap stuff they're doing.
But there's something to be said for that, right? Because if you listen to mainstream radio and only mainstream radio, where are you getting your influences from, right?
Like I wish I could reach out to them because I'm like, man, I wrote some dope fucking patterns and choruses too. I don't know who they are, but
well, I remember, I think you know who what the hell is this 0936 or whatever his name is? Do you know who that guy is?
Sound.
Like they're doing Google searches.
Yeah.
He does this. Yeah.
The collective hive is doing their work.
He does this.
I know who they are.
He does this song called Adrenaline. It's mainstream. He's also on like he's on some Theory of a Dead Man single. He has like a rap vibe to him, but he's also like hard rock at the same time.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, it's not like the rap metal from back in the day or anything like that. It's a completely different vibe. The guy's definitely got rhyming talent. I mean, I'm sure this guy could probably freestyle to fucking death. I'm sure. Hence the reason why he probably got noticed. But I listened to that stuff, and it's like it's good, but like I can't get inspired by it because it's not my wheelhouse. So like when you say like, I've got these really cool chorus ideas and stuff because it's what you heard. So you can't help but be in that headspace. So here I am like, driving down the road, and all of a sudden, like I start coming up with like this rap shit in my head. And it's like, but I'm not a rapper. Like, you know what I mean? And I'd be full of myself if I was just like, if I went to Jason, I'd be like, okay, check this out. And I started like freestyling something, he'd just be staring at me like, what are you doing?
Like, ready to make my
I'm an artist. Let me
see, you look like you could pull that off. I could not. I could not. I mean, teach their own, right? Whatever gets it out there. I mean, rock music is rock music. I don't care if you're rapping, if it's mega heavy or just a little bit heavy. I just want to see rock come back to prominence, and I really think it's on its way. I mean, I say that as a Canadian and also a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, so we always say the same shit every year. Oh, next year's our year. So whatever. But I honestly think rock's going to come back in a big way. There's going to be a resurgence of bands. There already is. And there's so many of them. There's no way. Like, I mean, I could bore you with the details by looking at the Billboard charts right now. Any Given Sin has cracked the Billboard Top 40. Plush has cracked the Billboard Top 40. These are fucking indie bands.
Yeah,
okay?
my buddies from Broken Rail just broke number 32.
There you go. Saul last year or 2019 when they broke out, big indie band. The mainstream guys are still there. Like, when I say mainstream guys, I mean the guys that have been there for a decade plus. They're still there. They're still going to chart. They're always going to chart. But I'm starting to see more and more bands on that list now that I'm like, who's that? I've never heard of this guy. You know what I mean? So then I start checking them out, and it's all like really good shit. There's somebody on there right now. I can't even remember his name. So, they're probably not listening, so it's no big deal. But they're on the mainstream tracks, and they have Hollywood Undead with them. Okay. You know what I mean? And it's like, how did you get those guys? Who are you? You know what I mean? I have never heard of this.
I will say, like, right now I can feel like there's a serious demand for organic rock music. And it's been we've had that sort of like just organic rock movement. And I think that people are really, especially after COVID and just being fed a lot of synthetic music and a lot of like, they just want to go out and feel real music, like live music, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think there's something about rock and roll and just metal music that offers something in a live sense that like hip hop and other genres of music just don't, you know what I mean? They lack the amount of like live instruments. So I think that rock, there's a demand for like an organic rock music like movement, and it's going to happen over the next year or two.
I think it's literally, and like speaking to what you're saying, certain things just have a shelf life. You know what I mean? Rock had one, at one point, where rock was on top, like those late 90s, early 2000s. I mean, everything was all about fucking rock. I mean, I could turn on, Much Music, which was our MTV back in the day. And it was Rob Zombie and Korn like all the time. You know what I mean? Like interspersed with like your boy bands and your other pop music and stuff like that. But that just showed that they were a big deal. If that same, like if a music video channel was still a thing today, you wouldn't be seeing that right now. You wouldn't see those kind of bands like in the middle of the day getting heavy rotation with the pop music. It would just be the pop music and the hip hop. And to each their own. There's a time and a place. My kid digs a lot of pop music, so I mean, I've digested a lot more pop music in the last 9 years of his life than I did for the 9 years before his life. I can tell you that right now. Some of it gets stuck in your head real easy. Hip hop I've always had a love for. I can't and won't do it because I'd be lying to myself. But I got love for hip hop, man. I got love for hip hop for days. Rock music though, especially the heavy shit, that's always been my love. And yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly, Shawn. I think they're looking for it now. They're starting to find it, especially because of this COVID thing.
Like the 90s and the early 2000s, you know, rock played a much bigger influence in like mainstream media in terms of like movies. You heard a lot more rock music in movies, and like nowadays you're just not hearing like these sort of mainstream rock bands, you know, play out in soundtracks anymore. So, but I definitely think that time is coming back 100%.
Well, and I think where it's come from is, and this is the funny thing, because I got a lot of young dudes that I work with, and they know a lot of the classic rock bands like very well. Like they know Kansas, they know Zeppelin, they know Sabbath, you know, they know all those bands, but they don't know who 3 Days Grace is. They don't know who Killswitch Engage is. You know what I mean? Like they don't know any of those bands that basically dominated rock and metal in like the 2000s. They've never heard of them.
And spectrum, there's a whole spectrum.
And it's missing. You're right. And when you ask them about rock music today, you know, like, well, what rock bands of today do you know about? And I hear things like Machine Gun Kelly and stuff like that. And I'm like, Machine Gun Kelly is not a fucking rock band. He's number one. He's one guy. I said, and he's the only reason that dude is doing rock music right now is because Eminem served his ass in hip hop, sent him fucking packing. And I will say that straight up. I don't care. I don't care.
Don't ever go up against Eminem again.
No, dude got schooled. And the reason he sounds so good is because he's got Travis Barker playing drums for him. I mean, it's basically Bling 182 with another guy singing.
Yeah, you know, and I agree with that. I appreciate
the
artist being like, I appreciate the art that he's brought to the table. To be 100% honest and transparent, I was a huge fan of him as a hip hop artist. I didn't quite understand the transition into him doing the rock stuff, but as an artist, I appreciate whatever he's developing. But I mean, yeah, he's not a band.
No, he's not a band. But I guess the bigger point that I'm trying to make is that that's who people know right now. And that's fine because that's what's happening right now. You know, I think I think it's Bloody Valentine or My Best Friend's, what the hell is it? Can't remember the name of the other song, but it's on the Billboard charts right now. It's a big song. Yeah. So I mean, whatever. Dude's making waves, fine, whatever. But there's that whole, like you said, spectrum that's just missing. 100% missing, that they don't know. It's like, okay, guys, like rock music didn't disappear. You know what I mean? Like, you know, when the Eagles broke up, rock fucking kept going, guys. Like, just let you know. And I know guys like Gene Simmons from Kiss, like he's been saying for years, like rock is dead. It's like, rock's not dead. It's just not popular right now. You know what I mean? It had its resurgence. I don't know where he was for that. It had its resurgence, and it comes in different forms. You know, the pop punk movement was a big thing in the 2000s. You know what I mean? So that was probably the more mainstream rock than anything else, where you had your Blink 182s and your Green Days and Simple Plan and like all those bands that all had that poppy sound, that poppy punk sound, but it's still rock music. So it was really cool to see a bunch of people up there playing guitars and drums and shit and not doing choreographed dance moves. You know, I mean, that was a nice break for a little while.
I think guys like Machine Gun Kelly and now Travis Barker are going to like bring back that sort of.
You know what? And to their credit, maybe. I mean, I just
bridge the mainstream audience and kind of bring them back over to the raw rock empire.
Well, you know what? And if that's honestly a catalyst for that happening, then I'll be the first one to sit here and eat shit for all the shit I just talked about Machine Gun Kelly. But like, for me, it was just an easy thing. It was easy for me to bash that whole thing because it's like, yeah, he started a beef with Eminem and he got served. He really did. And then the next thing you know, he did what the fuck was it? I don't think he started with this. He might have, but he did a Paramore cover. He did Misery Business and he covered it with Travis Barker playing drums, I'm pretty sure. And it wasn't terrible. I'll give him that. It wasn't terrible. I guess given the choice, I prefer that he's playing rock music, I guess, than hip hop. Again, I got love for hip hop, but I'm a rock guy. So yeah, of course I'm gonna be okay with that. But I mean, you almost have to ask yourself, and I ask this question all the time, and this almost gets brought up in almost every podcast I've ever done. And it's like, you look at that kind of stuff and you look at like Miley Cyrus, right? Miley Cyrus is now trying to make a transition into rock music herself. So she just did a cover of Zombie by the Cranberries. Again,
Twiggy,
it did
Twiggy
again.
doing rough.
He froze up there.
They definitely did.
I thought he had a stroke for a second.
Damn.
Yeah, she did that cover of Zombie by the Cranberries, which didn't hate it, you know. I also saw her do a cover of, I think it was Doll Parts by Hole. Yeah, just that look that Ethan just said, I was like, what? It was like yeah, again, didn't hate it, but it was the version of a Hole song if they didn't have that Courtney Love energy, where it was just basically a generic singer.
Psychotic energy.
Yeah, like I got a little bit of rasp in my voice, so I'm rock and roll, you know, and that's what it sounded like. So not terrible, but definitely didn't do the song justice. So now, again, this is the part where I feel like I bring this up every fucking podcast. So I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but she is Miley Cyrus is fully planning on releasing a Metallica covers album.
Oh,
Were you
Really?
aware of this? Yes.
No
Yeah, I
idea.
could tell by all of your faces you did not know.
I
this.
can't.
no.
I can't wait for it. Okay, here, before you say that, I don't know if this is going to be the lead single, but this is the first thing that's been announced as far as I am aware. She's going to do a cover of Nothing Else Matters, because of course she is,
No, of course.
with Elton John.
What?
Yeah.
And nothing else matters. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, there's a part of me that's like, okay, cool, because like Elton John is gonna sing Metallica. That's weird.
They're gonna soften it up.
I hope it's like a nice heavy piano behind it.
They're gonna soften it up. It's not gonna be the same goddamn song anymore.
No, and it's not. And that's the thing, is it's like there's that part of me that's trying really hard to just respect the fact that, hey, you know what? At the end of the day, these guys are plugging Metallica. At the end of the day, that's what they're doing. They're saying, hey guys, Metallica's awesome. So that part of me wants to say like, okay, thanks. That's awesome. But the other part of me is going, nope,
Yeah.
no, don't do it. Don't do it. You know what I mean? Like
And
Elton John, what's that?
you know what's gonna happen though?
What's
As
that?
soon as it comes out, we're all gonna flock to it.
Oh, 100%. Oh, I know. They got us figured out. They got us figured out. And I'm not even going to sit here and lie. The second it comes out, I'm going to be like, okay, what's this sound like?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm going to sample the whole goddamn thing. 100%. But the way I feel about it is like, okay, so Elton John, obviously and undeniably a huge icon in the music industry, you know, has wrote some of the greatest rock songs of any generation. Whether you're a fan of it or not, it's there. Miley Cyrus, everything she's done, you know what I mean? You know, she's very well known. That's awesome. But like, why are we doing this? I guess is the question that I have to ask.
Nothing else matters.
Yeah.
Artist in a blender, I wouldn't have chose those three. So
really, I know. I mean, that's the same with what did Elton John did something with Eminem, didn't he? Didn't he sing? Didn't they do Stan or something at one of the award shows one year?
There was a collaboration. I can't put my finger on it, but there was definitely a collaboration between the two.
I think Elton John sang the part that Dido sings, and that's like
that part.
That's the one, yeah. Yeah, that's the one. He sang that part. Actually, you know what? 100% that's what it was, because now I can hear him.
You know that's what he sang. Like,
yeah, I can hear him. And even before that, I remember when I was really young. I think it was my cousin or somebody. They had rented a video, and it was a Freddie Mercury tribute concert. This was just after Freddie Mercury died, and it was like all the big like hair metal bands of the time is like Def Leppard, and like even like Robert Plant showed up, Metallica was there, shit like that. And there was just a bunch of people singing like Queen songs. And then some shameless self-promotion and sang a few of their own. But there was a collaboration where Elton John and Axl Rose sang "We Will Rock You" together. And if you haven't seen this, it'll change your life. And
I need
and in a very, I'm not even going to tell you how it's going to change your life, but I can tell you it's not going to change your life in the way you think it's going to change your life. It's
Now I have no
interesting.
idea it's gonna change.
It's interesting. I mean, I look at it this way: we've all watched some pretty dumb shit on YouTube, like, and just looked for more of it over and over again, right? Like, who hasn't sat there and watched like 45 minutes straight of vines of just people doing dumb shit? So if you've got 3.5 minutes, watch Axl Rose and Elton John do "We Will Rock You." And
all right. So
Gotcha. Okay.
call me in the morning. It's unbelievable. So, okay, is there anything, just to kind of put a bow on everything, is there anything you guys want to add in terms of like what we can expect from you guys moving forward in the future here, beyond Mortem? Like, what's the long-term plans here, guys?
Oh boy.
I mean, just a complete takeover of the entire music industry.
Well, I wouldn't expect anything less, right?
Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'll start it off. We're gonna have more girls, more nudity, more sexual things, more degradation.
Okay. So straight up going Limp Bizkit then. That's what you're doing.
You know what? Screw it. Why not?
Why not? You're gonna sniff on them panties. That's what's gonna happen. I'm never gonna listen to that song the same again. Ever.
You could definitely expect a lot more just CorAnima, just a lot more of like, you know, just the really solid tunes that you've heard that we've been putting out, just heartfelt lyrics, just really tight music that will move you. I think that's definitely what's coming next.
Ethan, you got anything in the tank there that you haven't unleashed, that you haven't written yet, that you're ready to do?
I do.
Huh?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll just leave it there. I do.
Okay, good. Well, you guys, this has been awesome. I could talk to you guys all night, but that's the only reason I'm putting a cap on it, is because eventually it's just going to be like, oh shit, it's midnight here.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. I realize, like, I'm looking at my clock and I'm like, oh, it's not that time there. Like, but at the same time,
No,
you know,
here.
yeah, it's getting late here. Like, my wife is texting me going, it's like, hey, how's it going? It's like, well, it's going really well, which means, I better wrap it up.
Yeah, I will say that is the next, I guess we should say that we're trying to release this next month. It's going to be quite a mixed bag.
I do remember you saying there's going to be some pop stuff on there, right?
Yes, it's going to be quite a mixed bag because we have some pop, we have some throwback heavy stuff going on, and then we have because we're working with a new producer, which I'll give a shout out to Mr. Joshua Booma. But we're working on some stuff that's all the dark stuff that you heard on Somnium that's going a different direction. That's a lot of influence from Mr. Josh Booma. But we're gonna have a big mixed bag of soft pop, hardcore, and some really interesting, heavy kind of stuff that's gonna be released. That's gonna make people go, wow! It's a big mixed bag of all sorts of crazy stuff, but it's fun. I mean, I'm looking forward. Me and Ethan have been talking about it, because we're still working on these songs. They're taking a little bit more time, but they're gonna sound very interesting.
I can't wait for that. I think it's best that you do it that way. I mean, if you streamline, I mean, if it's awesome, it's going to sound great no matter what. But I mean, if you got a different flavor coming at everybody every track, I think that's really cool.
There's different spheres of music writing.
especially if you do it right. Some bands do it and then it just sounds like, do these guys not know what the fuck they're doing, like what their sound is? But then you can tell the other guys that are like, no, these guys they can do anything.
Yeah,
And,
you'll hear it, and I'm excited because it's gonna be really interesting, but it's also gonna be like it's still us, you know. And
yeah,
it's still CorAnima, and it's just showing people kind of the other influences and things that we're into. Um, and yeah, I can't really explain, but it's gonna be cool.
yeah. Again, like I said, looking forward to it. Um, you guys are forever gonna have my support. So I'm just gonna continue doing my thing, plugging the shit out of you guys.
Likewise.
Probably. Thanks, man. You have a little bit of more of a limited catalog to work with right now, but that'll be back. So that being said, you know, I don't have to tell you guys, you know, protect yourselves, you know, don't let anybody fucking promise you the fucking world. And I know you guys already aren't doing that. Fuck, we didn't do that, and we still got fucking pinched. So it's the way it works, man. But at the end of the day, I wish you guys nothing but success, and that's what's going to happen. I'd love to do this again sometime. You guys are awesome. It's amazing how fast time goes by. I just have to wait for all this stuff to fucking convert into MP4 now. So the longer I wait for it, the longer this damn thing's going to take. So
There you go.
so thank you guys for coming on. Make sure you give Piot shit for not showing up. I want to talk to that guy. I want to get like that's an excuse, man. That's an excuse to do this again. You know, we got to get the whole thing on here one day.
He's too busy showing BMWs and Mercedes and Audis and things. I don't know.
And you should and you showed up late looking like you had just finished stuffing bodies in the back of BMWs. All right, guys. We're gonna sign off here. So again, the new single right now, Somnia. Everybody get out there, spin the shit out of it. These guys deserve it. Keep spinning the stuff before that. Fuck, they only got four songs out there right now? Four songs on there, man. You guys can get through that shit in 20-25 minutes. So just do it. CorAnima on your playlists right now. Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming out.
Thank you so much, man. Later.
Thank you.
Peace.